You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers, but we have Drew. So what's going on, Drew?
Hey Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay. I'm calling in from Happily Ever After the Animal Rescue, so sorry if the dogs act up, but today I finally realized what it feels like to be a Bears fan, because the Lions losing the way they lost, that was honestly my favorite game of the whole year, more than all of the Packers wins. Like, I think just because we've been getting beat up on by the Lions, and it felt so fraudulent the whole time, going for it on fourth down all the time and getting away with it and no one holding them accountable and making them pay. And then, just stupid decisions. Finally, it caught up to the Lions. Their injuries on defense caught up to them, and they ran into a red-hot team in Washington, and it was just all the shots to the fans that, wouldn't have been there a couple of years ago and paid $850 because they're, bandwagon fans now, and they're thinking they're going to the Super Bowl, and then like 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they're stuck there like a prison cell, just sad, just like the most negative emotions, knowing their team's going to lose, and there's still 10 minutes left in the quarter, pretty much. Like, it was very unlikely, and then it got even worse. And they're just their emotion of dealing with it and watching it over and over. The cameras did a great job of catching that. And it was a beautiful, beautiful game. So, but I don't want to have this feeling. I want to get back to the days where nothing matters but getting to the Super Bowl and not caring about the other teams in the division because we're by far the best. I'm sick of being third best record. So let's have a great off season and see how we can improve the team and hopefully make a run next year. Have a good day. Bye.
Well, you're a sick bastard, Drew, but I think we're all in the same boat, and I think we all agree. It felt good, but, only because that's all we had left. Once we got bounced, it's like, please just don't let them continue and succeed. And them getting immediately evicted, just like, okay, all right, we're good. We're good. But you're right. Now we gotta refocus a little bit, and not be like the Bears where we just sit around and wait for other teams to lose so that we can actually celebrate something.
Ryan, how are you, buddy?
Good.
Kyle from Madison. Well, I just hate to see it, but the Lions they got lioned
womp womp
by the Commanders. I don't know how else to say it. they got their own medicine and they couldn't handle it, and it's pretty glorious actually. I almost felt a little bad for them, almost. Which means I didn't. But
to be clear,
look, you got to look at these three teams, right? How do I want to put this? Kind of this year, I've always tried to remind myself that we very nearly lost Jordan to a knee injury week one.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to remind myself of that throughout the year, which kind of made the ups and downs of everything a little bit easier to take. But even in my wildest dreams, I thought, all right, maybe they can beat the Eagles here. Maybe best case scenario, the Packers could beat the Eagles and then take down the Lions, and maybe they lose in the NFC Championship game. But I never really, if you put me on some sodium pentothal or, like some truth serum the KGB used, man, I never really thought we could be winning the Super Bowl here after about mid-season, kind of saw what the score was. But the Vikings, man, they thought they were going to the big game. And the Lions fans, and certainly looked the part, they thought they were going to win the whole thing.
Here's another positive way to look at a bad situation. If we had found a way to win against the Eagles, there is a very, very good chance that we end up losing to Detroit, meaning they would go on. Not only would it suck because we would end up losing anyways, but we would lose for a third time to Detroit, and Detroit would go on to win and move on to the next round. And even though they would still end up, against Washington and what, presumably, and I mean, who knows what would have ended up happening, but it potentially paved the way for Detroit to continue on. So maybe this is just the way it needed to be. Maybe because the Packers were just completely spiraling and there was nothing good, if we had found a way to sneak out a win against the Eagles, all we would have been doing is paving a path for Detroit to march straight on into the Super Bowl. And we can't have that. So it went the way it was supposed to.
So the Packers had the least disappointing season by far of these three teams. And I know that's not the competition, but for all the crap that we've taken this last week, man, like, the Packers are the least disappointing, least comically disastrous team out of those three. Because we still got room to grow, and I just feel like you look at the Vikings and the Lions now, and it's kind of like just the way they're set up. I mean, there's kind of a window closing. Maybe less on the Vikings, but it looks like the Lions, they kind of have this little 2-year window, and they're going to have to do a quick reset. But my word, how the turns have tabled. And just in shocking fashion, too. And look out for the Commanders, man. I mean, you had to watch that team a little bit and think, geez, this kind of reminds me of the 11 Packers. And that's what I thought. I think that's an apt comparison. So we'll see how it goes. But, an Eagles Commanders rematch, maybe? It could be. We'll see. All right, buddy. Go Pack.
Well, the Commanders did a great job of just playing really solid, mistake-free football. It's just playoff football. And the fact that they just kept executing, and when it came down to it and they wanted to go for fourth, which they did a ton of times, they executed again. Kudos to Jaden Daniels, playing just incredible football right now. That's what it's going to take all the way down the stretch. You got to be a team that's going to be consistent, and you got to pull out all the stops. The Eagles are a super talented team, but they're just the one that's kind of the scariest because, their quarterback is not playing super good football. So we'll see how it goes. But either way, for whether that was just for a game and maybe you'll start to see some of the youth tomorrow, I guess. The game that they played against Detroit was pretty remarkable.
Hey, Ryan, this is Jersey Mike.
Hey.
The Lions lost. All the garbage they were talking out good they are. Oh, man. And you know what's even better? They lost to the Commanders. Oh, this is a glorious morning. I'm a nerd, so I played some video games, and last night there was a Lions fan, and he was watching it while we were in the middle of doing stuff, and he sounded like he was happy in the beginning of the game. Is he not happy now? Oh, God, yes. All right. The reason I care a little bit about this is because the last game that I saw Aaron Rodgers play live was in FedEx Fields, wherever in Maryland, all right? And that was the Commanders game, and that was the game, or the football team, or whatever they were at that point in time. That was the game where Rodgers looked like doo-doo and we lost. Anyway, the reason I want to say this is because Commander fans, y'all deserve this. Because when we We're in FedEx Field. Y'all were the nicest people ever. Y'all, we lost the game, and you know what? Everybody was like, good game, good game. You guys played a really good game. You guys get home safe. You know, walking out of the stadium, people weren't garbage. It was actually nice. And for all of the garbage that the Commanders have the worst stadium in the league, it actually was nice. I felt like I was going to real NFL football. I don't know. It's one thing I can't explain, but I'm gonna cheer for the Commanders here on out, just because, you know what? I don't know. They shouldn't be here, but they should be. They clearly deserve it. Yes, the Lions are out. The whole NFC North is out. Let's go, baby. All of these Vikings and Lions fans were just running their mouths how good they were. And look, both of them first-round exits. Let's go back, go, baby.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Washington winning the Super Bowl. Just knowing that the guy that the Bears skipped on and didn't even bring in for an interview goes on to win the Super Bowl. They can try as hard as they want to pretend that doesn't mean anything, and he wouldn't have been able to do that in Chicago, and blah, blah, blah. Bull crap. I mean, can you imagine if it was Chiefs, Commanders, Super Bowl, and you got Mahomes against Jaden Daniels? It's like the Bears pass on me bowl. Trubisky-Williams bowl. Oh, man. I don't know, man. There's something about that. Just the fact that it would be talked about on the somebody would have to bring it up on the broadcast that these are two quarterbacks that Chicago's passed on. And I'm sure but they got a guy. Oh, I'm sure they're doing great. Oh, yeah. But just say, I just want you to say it. I want you to say it on the broadcast. And I want one of the announcers to just be a total D-bag about it and bring it up every 5 minutes. It'd be beautiful. I don't want Kansas City in the Super Bowl, but just that alone, oof. That would be a thing of beauty.
Well. It's a beautiful Sunday morning here in southern Idaho. It's nice to see also that, yes, the refs won the game for the Chiefs, but I didn't call for that, because that's, of course they're going to do that, especially in their first round. But it was really nice to see the Lions come out as who they were. Yes, folks, they are who they thought they were. Lions fans kind of remind me of Seattle fans. Seattle was bad for a long time, and then they got good. Now, while they were bad, you didn't see a Seattle hat. Now, I didn't live in Seattle. I lived in Southern California. You didn't see a hat, a jersey, nothing. Nothing that said Seattle. You didn't see it. And then as soon as the Legion of Boom comes out, well, all of a sudden there's Seattle fans everywhere. That's kind of how Lions fans are. Very cocky. The old phrase, act like you've been there. Well, they weren't doing that. They were acting like they've never been there. I had a few interactions with them, not online, with actual, to their face, and man, they'd look at me, oh, you're a Packer fan? You guys suck. We're the new king of the North. I'm like, okay, if that's what you're going for. Lovely Smith, we're going to beat the Packers. Hey, maybe focus on that other game at the end of the season. But, yeah. Lions, they just thought they had arrived. And I even told that one cat, he's a guy that comes to our store, he's one of our distributors. And I go, just because you're good now, you've been good the last couple of years, but, you could be really good and still not even win a playoff game. Oh, that's not what's going to happen. I mean, okay, just tell me you're a dumb fan without telling me you're a dumb fan. So it was just nice to see them lose in home, just get obliterated. It made my day. It just capped off the whole average season and made it good, So, I was going to joke around and say that I was reading a manual printed by the Lions a couple of years ago on how to treat Packer fans. It basically said ignore them during the season, and once they lose a playoff game, tease them ruthlessly. I think I might do that. However, if I don't, I probably won't. But I have full confidence that many of my Packer friends are going to do just that. And just tease them ruthlessly. Stick a big old, you're a stupid fork in their side because they are done. Go Pack, go. Lions suck. And hey, can someone please beat the Chiefs? Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, yeah, we'll see if Pat Mahomes decides to be a grown-up about it and actually play the sport without trying to flop every 5 seconds. I mean, honestly, how pathetic is that guy? It's really embarrassing to be one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play, and you're trying to get some stupid little advantage by flopping around the field and pretending you're getting hit when you're not so that you can bait the refs into throwing bad penalties in your favor. I mean, come on, man. That's just an absolute embarrassment to be doing that kind of crap. But yeah, man, a lot of fair weather nonsense. You just got to weather the storm, you know? Good teams stay up. Really bad organizations, they'll flourish for a period and then they'll fade away, just like Seattle did. Took quite a while, but they did eventually fade away. Detroit is Detroit, you know. It's a question of, do you have a long-standing culture so that when you lose your front office, when you lose your coaching staff, when you lose your superstar players, are you going to be able to replenish these guys over and over and over and over again? And I mean, there's no standing in Detroit to demonstrate that that's exactly what they're going to do. So weather the storm, you know, ride it out, and just wait for it all to come crumbling down. It might be next year. It might be 5 years from now. Who knows? But just keep hanging in there. Keep taking swings at her. All right, why don't we take our first break? We'll come back. We got some Andy from Kansas.
Hi, Ryan. This is Andy from Kansas.
Hey.
Just thinking about here at the end of the season now that the Packers and the Lions are both eliminated from the playoffs. First, as far as Green Bay goes, yeah, it's too bad the season is already over. Just, you know, people complaining about it, but look at the things that we were able to do. Still an extremely young team. There's a lot of things that time will actually, you know, I think help us out by quite a bit. I do not think Jordan Love was healthy. We had, especially towards the end of the season, his mobility was truly affected. Weeks that we had Watson gone, we had Dobbs on the field, and then weeks that we had Dobbs on the field, Watson was gone. So just those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I know people, and this is getting into part two here of the call. I know people talk about, you know, well, injuries are not an excuse.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that the Lions, the beloved crowned Lions, are gone, are you going to say the same thing? I just think that now is a time when fans who are always on the Packers' case for not just going and winning all the time, and look at that in terms of also now Detroit. Are you going to include Detroit in those same criticisms?
Right.
They had a lot of injuries, yeah. So I guess there's no excuse, right? According to these people. Let's take a look at some of the other roster moves that would, I think, anybody who's actually following and putting things together would say, you know, Green Bay has a fairly large window here, and let's not get down on them, you know, so soon. Looking at the Lions roster, in this offseason, they acquired David Montgomery and Kevin Zeitler. Both of them played a majority of the games this year and were both very effective. But then if you look at the draft in the last bunch of years, let's talk about the offensive line, the beloved offensive line that really, if you look at it or if you try to compare it, you know, to Green Bay's woes, this is the Lions have. In 2016, they drafted Taylor Decker, 16th overall. So top 20 pick from 2016. It's a long time ago. Frank Ragnow, 20th overall in 2018. Penei Sewell, 7th overall in 2021. All those guys have been on the team since 16, 18, and 21, and they've made it to the playoffs twice. Okay. Jamison Williams finally paid some dividends this year. He was a nobody the last few years. 12th overall in 2022. Jack Campbell, 18th overall 2 years ago. Amon-Ra has been on the team since 2021. Jamar Gibbs was 12th overall in 2023. Laporta was actually not a first-round pick, but he's been on the team.
Oops, sorry. Part two for Andy from Kansas.
So if you compare...
Sorry. Just being completely transparent, I'm watching film on some draft prospects as you're talking. I'm listening. I promise I'm listening. But I just, I can multitask.
Here, the Packers and the Lions, just in these last 2 years, just during the Jordan Love time, right? We can't really, truly come down on the Packers in the Jordan Love era and say, it's not even an era. It just started, I guess. But say, well, that didn't work. I guess we have to start over. I just listed off, a bunch of moves in the top 20 picks outside of Sam Laporta that the Lions have been doing since 2016. Okay? They've been doing this for that long. I know that their coach, Dan Campbell, hasn't been the coach for all that time, but the players have been in place. Obviously, they traded for Goff and got a whole bunch of extra picks, high picks for Goff, right? And over the last 2 seasons, the Detroit Lions have won one more playoff game than Green Bay, a total of one more game. And we all know that last year that we played against the Niners better than the Lions played against the Niners. So in my opinion, we're pretty much even, and we've barely begun to scratch the surface and have barely started. I saw a post the other day, it might have actually been from Clayton, that in the last 2 seasons, the Packers were the youngest team, both this year and last year. And if you go back the previous 10 seasons after last season, the youngest teams in the league were not even close to playoff teams. Right. One of those teams was the 0-16 Cleveland Browns. So you're talking about horrendous records when you talk about a young team. We're talking about playoff teams right off the bat with young teams. So Packers fans, it's going to take a while. We have to keep with it. If we want what the Lions have, it's just going to take a while. Okay, bye.
Yeah, and it did take them a while. I mean, look at how bad the Lions were when they first started off, with this Dan Campbell thing. I mean, they were just bad. They were the darlings of the NFL. Everybody was, oh, look at them. They're so cute and they're trying so hard and all this stuff. What did it take, 3 years for them to get to the playoffs? And yeah, as far as, the Lions and everything, talking all that trash about, oh, you keep going, but you haven't won. You keep going, but you haven't won. You keep going, but you haven't. Okay, well, first of all, it's hard for you to criticize considering you can't even get there. But yeah, I mean, since the assumption is once you get there, it's really easy to win Super Bowls, apparently. Otherwise you're the Packers who just go to the playoffs and just get bounced every single time. Okay, well, Detroit, you're 0 for 2. Minnesota, I mean, you've been to the playoffs how many times over the last 10 years? How many Super Bowls in that time? Is it roughly 0? Because that's what I'm pretty sure that it is. So yeah, this idea that, it's unique for a team to regularly go to the playoffs and not win Super Bowls is stupid. There's 32 teams. Only one of those 32 is going to win a Super Bowl. Which means if everybody won every single year, if it was perfectly equal for everybody, then you would win once every 32 years. And even if you went to the playoffs every single year, you would win once every 14 years. Even if you assume you're going to go to the playoffs every year, if we make it even, there's 14 teams, you win once every 14 years. It's a very, very, very long time, and that assumes you go every single year. Some teams are just starting to learn that, right, Detroit? Yeah, not so easy, is it, stupid?
Hey, Ryan Beercheese Benny here.
Hey.
I just want to talk about how hilarious it is that the Lions lost, and they got freaking murdered by a rookie quarterback. Okay? And here's the one thing I want to say about it, first and foremost. All these Lions fans we had injuries. Yet, the whole season, when we had injuries, they would be like, oh, that's an excuse. Oh, stop freaking crying. Stop making an excuse. Maybe you should just be a better team. And now when it happens to them, all of a sudden, they can use that excuse. I don't get that. And you know what I don't get? It's not like they didn't have Brian Branch. Oh, and Kirby Joseph, who said that he should be all-pro, even though he proved to us in that game that he was totally trash, and Xavier McKinney is 10 times better. I just don't get it, man. You guys have such a great offense. I didn't know that the injuries on defense caused 5 turnovers on offense. I didn't know that. Oh. And all these freaking fake fans, dude. I saw a video on Twitter, dude. Freaking, they're leaving with 7 minutes and 31 seconds left in the freaking game. Not 31 seconds. All right, 7 minutes and 31 seconds. Still time to freaking tie the game at the very least. They're like, come on, don't tell me that Detroit fans are real. And then you got that dumb stick radio guy who, by the way, I freaking roasted on X. All right? You guys follow me, Beer Cheese Benny? I freaking roasted him, dude. And the first thing that he says, first thing that Lions fans have to say is to talk about the Packers. We're rent-free, buddy. Rent-free. And I love that, dude. Keep talking about us. And, you know, that guy's an idiot because he called us poverty, and I'm like, so I kind of replied, I said, hey, I think you seem to not understand what poverty means. Here, let me help. And then I posted a picture of the definition on Google of poverty, and I said, do you see where it says material possession? The Lions lack the material possession of a Lombardi trophy. So, yeah, there you go. And I'm just sick of Lions fans. They're stupid. I have a friend, and he's like, oh, it doesn't matter, dude. You think that us losing Ben Johnson is going to makes us the team? Do you really think that he makes us good? We're going to whoop your ass next year no matter what. It doesn't matter. I think the Lions are going to get worse. They're going to be worse because Dan Campbell, and by the way, enough with the tough guy bravado act, because he went on the podium and started crying with his little freaking red nose, looking like a freaking idiot. He started crying. Oh, yeah, such a tough team. You're going to take the kneecaps. Go find some kneecaps in Cancun, you moron. So I'm just so sick of that team and that fan base. Anyway, see ya.
Yeah, I saw that stick guy that you were talking about. He made a video calling Packers fans fake fans and whatever, which is just stupid. He knows nothing about the history of Packer fans and whatnot. But after everybody went and attacked him, you know, after the Lions lost, his response was something to the effect of, your team is irrelevant until you can beat the Lions. It's like, bro, we beat you last year, so I guess we're a relevant franchise. Like, you can't just erase all of history and say this is the first year in existence and therefore you're irrelevant, even though you're a pretty good team and went to the playoffs, but you're irrelevant unless you beat this arbitrary standard I made up where you have to beat us. And again, history starts today, so you didn't beat us this year, so you're an irrelevant franchise. You understand how stupid you are? This is the dumbest crap ever.
Hey, Ryan, Beer Chief Benny here.
Hey.
You know, the Lions, dude, they got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, they got Sam Laporta, all these great pass catchers. So they should have dominated, right? I mean, they were so good. All the Lions fans said, yeah, Amon-Ra's going to freaking bust their ass, and freaking Jameson Williams is going to go crazy. Well, then you guys should have won easily then, right? Oh, but you didn't. Oh, and guess what? You also didn't won the same amount of playoff games as the Vikings and the Packers. So, yeah. See, now this is the part of the thing where now I'm seeing, it's like, Gutekunst is actually right, man. Just because you got all these number one receivers or whatever, elite receivers, I mean, look what happened to these teams that have all these great receivers, like top in the league. They're not even playing anymore, man. I mean, the Bills, they don't even really have a top receiver. They're getting it done. It all comes down to the quarterback, man. So, you know, Goff is terrible, and you're stuck with that contract. Good luck, dude. And they're actually screwed with their cap hit, bro. They have, like, so many players that are free agents, like, they're not going to know what to do. And, yeah, everyone says, well, if Aiden Hutchinson wasn't hurt, we would have done so much better. That's like,
probably.
Okay. But now they're going to say, like, oh, next year we'll be better because we'll have Aiden Hutchinson. Like, well, you don't know that. You don't know that he'll be just as good because I mean, that was a terrible leg snap, dude. He might not be the same.
That was real bad.
We don't know. It's kind of thing with Rashawn Gary. Or any other player, really. Coming back from injury. It's going to be tough, bro. But, I just have to laugh, man. Lions fans. I saw a meme, it was like, we'll get them next year since 1958. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, man. And now I got freaking stupid Lions fans saying, oh, dude, Kirby Joseph's so much better than McKinney. Because McKinney called him out, like, kind of subtly, didn't mention his name, but he tweeted out, I don't know if you saw it, he was like, yeah, we're not the same. And Kirby Joseph looked like a freaking moron. He looked like an idiot. He looked like a high schooler out there. Like, just looked lost. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't care what PFF says. They're nearly the same. And actually, McKinney has a better rushing grade than Kirby does, and they're pretty much the same in passing grade or whatever. But McKinney's so much better, man. Kirby just looks lost. Don't give me this crap. Don't give me this crap, Lions fans. You guys are morons. Like, come at me when you can actually appear in a Super Bowl. You haven't even appeared in one. So don't freaking tell me that we're poverty.
Yeah, I mean, the Kirby Joseph thing is kind of just, I mean, maybe he suddenly became a great player, but, last year he had a 56 PFF grade, and the year before that was a 64. Why was he at a 91 this year? Because he had 9 interceptions. We've been over this. It's fluky. This stuff is fluky. So, no, I don't really expect him to continue doing what he did this year. Maybe he will. I don't know. But more than likely, the interceptions are going to go away. And when the interceptions go away, you're not going to have nearly as good of a football player. Go figure. I mean, if you look at the games where he didn't have an interception, his coverage grades were 40, 70, 50, 60, 60, 50, 60, 60, 50, 60. And his 170 grade was a 70.2. It wasn't like a 79. All these other grades where he graded out well, 70, 70, 70, 80, 80, 80, 80, 70, those are all interceptions. So, yeah, if unless he has 9 interceptions every year, he's not going to do it. Now, McKinney was arguably the best safety in football last year. He was arguably the best safety in football this year, and it's not the interceptions. It's just that he's always been a really solid safety in the NFL. So, yeah, Kirby Joseph is a one-year wonder who got a bunch of picks. McKinney is just a dude who is just a good safety, period. I mean, it's pretty straightforward to me. Why don't we take a break? We'll be right back.
Ryan, I am insufferable. I am toxic.
All right.
Because this is what happens when Lions fans talk crap every freaking day of our lives about us. And first of all, I don't know why they're always thinking about us. They obviously love us more. They're starting to become like Bears fans. Like, they care more about us than their own team. But you know what, dude? Dan Campbell, he's a beta. He's a freaking beta. Who goes up to the podium and cries? It's my fault. It's my fault. Yeah, no kidding, because you're dumb. And guess what? You lost your coordinators? Yeah, good luck, dude. Who are they going to hire? Really, who are they going to hire that's going to make it as good as that? Now, I'm not saying that let's get be significantly bad for them. They still got good players, but, dude, you lost everything that you were building for. I mean, everything was built around the way those coordinators, allow the team to go. And, you think about the injuries they have, right? And their defense still played kind of good, pretty decent. It's well, if that happens next year and you got a different coordinator, who's to say that's going to be the same? What if they bring in a guy that changes the whole scheme? You know what I mean? Dan Campbell. He's just a glorified cheerleader. That's all he is, man. And he's a beta, man. He's a little red-nosed piece of crap. Probably an alcoholic. And he was never even a good player. I mean, honestly, dude. This is getting out of hand for Lions fans. And I can't wait. I hope next year, why can't we just sweep them? Let's just sweep them, dude. Let's just shut them up. Be like, we swept you. Like how they did to us. Oh, you guys are crap. And then we can give the crap back. We need to do it. Because I'm not going to sit there with another year of dumb Lions fans who haven't been a fan of the team until maybe about 4 years ago. Most of them. Obviously there's loyal ones, but most of them are. Because remember, 3 years ago, stadium lowest attendance. For some reason they like to argue that, it was blah, blah, blah. It's but no, you guys just aren't loyal. Packers have sold out every game since 1960, have had very bad teams, and people show up to the games no matter what. I went to a freaking game where I knew Brett Hundley was going to be our starting quarterback. Do you think I wanted to go to that game? No. But I love the Green Bay Packers. I don't freaking care who's on the field. I'm freaking watching the dang team. So, sorry, Lions. You guys are poverty, and you always will be. Packers are going to win a Super Bowl before you even appear in one.
Well, I think we can safely say Beer Cheese Benny is not a big fan of the Lions. I mean, None of us were, but he's a little fired up right now. Ben, what do you got going on?
Well, Ryan just found out that the Bears hired Ben Johnson from the Lions. So you know what that means, right? We get to spend an entire offseason listening to Bears fans talk about how good they're going to be next year and that they're going to win the Super Bowl. And then we get to watch them win.
And we get to listen, too, about Bears and Packer fans say, but this time it's different. Yeah, but don't be biased. This time it's different. Caleb Williams, Justin Fields is not Trubisky. This time it's different. Caleb Williams is one of the greatest ever in the world. This time it's different. Ben Johnson, this time it's different. Okay, fine, it's different. Yeah, great, cool. This time it's different. Got it. Just like every year is going to be different.
5 or 6 games next year, and that is going to be so glorious. They keep doing this to themselves, and I love nothing more than watching Bears fans suffer.
I agree.
And, you know, people are going to say, oh, Ben Johnson this and Ben Johnson that and this and that. No, you want to know how I know he's a bad coach? Because the Bears hired him, and that's all the evidence you need.
Now we know.
Anyway, go Pack, go, and F the Bears.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have no reason to believe the Bears are going to do anything at all. None. What reason do I have? They've ruined everything and everyone ever. So, yeah, but Ben Johnson's different. Different than what? At doing what? Calling plays with the Lions offense? Yes, he did a good job calling plays with the Lions offense. What does that have anything to do with the question of how good of a head coach he's going to be with the Chicago Bears football team? And freaking Ryan Poles as their GM acquiring talent for them. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of information on that one.
Hey Ryan, Piercy's Benny here.
Hey.
I just have a question because, like I told you before, I've never really gotten into like the draft thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, of course I've looked into players, like, and normally it's like when, you know, like the week of the draft, I'm just kind of like looking at guys or whatever and seeing like what other, you know, like mock drafts people have and stuff like that. And so I never really got into it. And I kind of want to get into it now and kind of look at like highlights and stuff and like look. But what I'm wondering is, you know, being that we're a 4-3 defense now, and I don't know if Gutekunst does this, but like, do you think it's a good idea to like look at, you know, defensive players? Like let's say we're looking for an edge, right? Like an edge rusher or something like a defensive lineman. Like, do you look at like teams that, like college guys from teams that are in the 4-3 scheme, or does that not really matter? Like, I don't know, because like I think it kind of does. You know, I think we think about like Rashawn Gary. Like I'm pretty sure like when he was at Michigan, they were in the 3-4, and then so like, you know, when we switch to 4-3, it becomes a little harder for him or whatever. But I just wondering if you kind of look at that kind of thing. But I was looking into a few guys last night. That Harmon dude from Oregon, he looks like a freaking beast, man.
See, there it is again.
I would love to have him as an edge rusher, dude. That'd be sick. And then
I don't know who started the Harmon hype, but it hit on Packers Twitter pretty hard, and people are all in on that guy.
In terms of corners, from what I've seen so far, that Barron dude from Texas, good grief, man. I like him. But I haven't looked too much into it, so that's really the only guys that I'm kind of looking at right now that I'm saying that would be cool if they were Packers. So yeah, dude. And then the dude from Ohio State, the Ibuka guy or whatever the hell his name is.
Mm-hmm.
I hear like I've been hearing like he's like one of the best blocking wide receivers, and I just think Matt LaFleur, like he's all over that. He's like, oh yeah, baby. You know, not only does like can he catch the ball and like make plays, but he can freaking block. Like that's a Packer right there. Like that's just like just sticks out as a freaking wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Like you can block. Oh my gosh, dude, you're gonna be a Packer. So that'd be sweet if we got him. But all right, let me know what you think.
Yeah, so I haven't really dug into anybody that you listed, aside from that defensive tackle a little bit. started to look at the corners. I've been watching, as we've been doing this, Siobhan Revel. Really like him a lot. He had a torn ACL, which I think is the only reason he's going to end up falling. I hope he falls to give us an opportunity. I mean, obviously that's going to scare some people, especially a team that's had a lot of injury issues. Maybe it should scare us. I don't know, but I like him. I like the guy a lot. Jeez, he just made another play. Holy cow. Oh, that wasn't a touchdown. He got him down. I think he did get him down because they're running another play here. No, I haven't gotten through everybody. I'm having a good time watching some of these guys. I mentioned that I watched, what's his name? Benjamin Morrison. Not a huge fan. I think Revel's significantly better than he is. For me, anyways, he checks all the boxes. Now, there's always going to be the more advanced people that are looking at very nuanced things. You know, this is where GMs will start to look and say, yeah, but, you know, if you look at his abilities and you start teaching this and training this, you can really turn him into this, that, or the other, which kind of gets into what you're talking about, the 3-4-4-3. It matters to me. Now, I think if you're, again, a little bit more advanced in what you're doing, you can probably, first of all, a lot of guys will play hand in the dirt, so you can try to find those snaps to see how they look. I would rather, I mean, I'll watch other edge rushers for sure, but I don't know how to necessarily translate one to the other. So for me, it's a big deal if you're a 4-3 hand in the dirt pass rusher, just because it's easier for me to translate it, to look at it and say, okay, he's good at that, and not have to say, okay, how do you take a 3-4 outside linebacker and determine whether or not he's going to be a good 4-3 pass rusher? I'm sure, you know, GMs and their staffs and everything will be able to try to do those kinds of things, but for me, and listen, you can still watch him and say, I really like the guy, and just put an asterisk next to it and say, but I don't know if he can play 4-3. You know, I don't know that, but I love him as a pass rusher. I mean, it's kind of similar to, reminds me of when I watched Justin Jefferson. In Justin Jefferson, I loved Justin Jefferson. The problem is I believe he was just a slot guy, if I'm not mistaken, and they really didn't have him running deep routes or anything. So it was just a lot of just real quick stuff at the line. And my whole thing was like, well, I don't know if he can do X, Y, and Z, so I can't definitively say whether or not I think this guy is going to be this, you know, good or whatever. But from what I can see, he's fantastic. But yeah, I'm certainly going to be putting an emphasis on the 4-3 guys in hopes that we go that way, because you don't really know. I mean, there's no guaranteed way to know for sure, and there's going to take some extra time and extra training to try to get these guys to learn how to play a certain way and, you know, operate a different way. Just be an easier transition, in my opinion, if they were already a 4-3 guy. Just my opinion. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a ton of Daniel from California, and I don't really want to get it started right now, so I'm just going to leave her be at that, and we will pick up where we left off. Appreciate all the calls. Good hearing from you. And I look forward to you guys watching some draft prospects and letting me know your thoughts. I finally got my first guy in the My Guy Club. But have a good rest of your night. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.